Gonna take a look at the tournament that was happening yesterday on Saturday as per usual, version 102, week 102. I will start right off with the Asian region. Gonna take a look at all the games that the winners got. And the first setup here, the Asian version, looks really nice. There's a lot of good games here, for sure. So for some reason we have somebody named here Frühlingsblume. Spring Flower. Sounds very reminiscent of somebody else, aka Flower Fairy. Got a giant spec sledge crawler versus elite spec from Dirty Car. Interesting. So stock standard deployment with addition of marksman. Makes sense into Sledgehammer Arclight, especially because his opponent didn't even get any chuff. However, it's still elite, so has a lot of HP on those level 2 Arclights. And thus he is not winning round 1. Okay, got phoenixes, missile strikes, all the good stuff. But it's a haste module and extended range phoenixes on the mirror. Triple marksman deploys, just straight up buying them in. Makes sense because there wasn't any chaff that he was seeing. And there will be crawlers level 2, but crawlers level 2 not as strong in this matchup because the sledges with 608 can still one-shot a crawler just like the normal one. Interesting formation here. Got a marksman a little bit further back with the haste module so he doesn't run into the Arclights. One of them got upgraded, so the sledges don't get stuck to the other sledges and Arclights again, so they can help out clearing these blue crawlers. That should be usually very strong. And that's a pretty early lost round for elite spec. Got Vulcans, Phoenixes and Wasp. So takes the Wasp. His opponent got extended range Phoenix, so I guess he's gonna pick that. And we have a instant worm coming in here. Very interesting. We got 6 marksmen and a worm with Wasp versus crawlers everywhere and some phoenixes to back it up. So now the chaff clear situation is getting a little bit out of control, I would say. But the big upside of the Wasp here is that they get to tank for the marksman. And extended range phoenixes can't really kill those Wasp very quickly. But still, too much crawlers below. And the tower goes down. Other side was holding better because there was a sandworm here. In terms of techs, it's the sandworm without sandstorm, so the strike version. Strike version means he gets to burrow and emerge faster, pretty much. The burrow was patched in earlier, so they burrow very much instantaneously now. You can't even EMP them, and strike makes sure that they also emerge faster and they get splash So they can't get stuck as easily as the normal worms can. But yeah, it's gonna be a win for Dirty Car on that turn. Barrier, very interesting pickup if you wanna go for worms. Because the worm will take the barrier with him, but it's gonna be the Vulcan. This is interesting because 2 wasps were taken over the Vulcan that was offered on the unit drop. But the barrier makes much more sense on the Vulcan. Other than that, we have 7 marksmen on the field. And his opponent now got level 2 fangs. That should clear the wasp rather quickly. However, they will feed a lot of XP to all units that can get them. And since there's a Vulcan now, that is quite dangerous. Half a level already. And the worm didn't really get answered, to be honest. It's still roaming about here. Typhoon doesn't belong in the marksman comp, so it's got sold. And Mustangs for blue here. Makes sense into the wasp, but I mean there's only 2 wasp on the field right now. Mustang is historically not very good against Vulcans, and there's gonna be a bunch of Vulcans with range this turn. The Sandworm is not a part of this entire run until it's needed as big chuff. And there we see the opponent, being elite spec, over invest into a melter to answer that. However, the melter is good into Vulcan as well, so it's not the worst thing. He needed a carrier for the barrier. Also a good reason to pick that. Phoenix is staying alive because they have that 140 base range now. Pretty much equal to the marksman. And that is big damage because there's triple giants now on the board, so blue is dying rather quickly now. EMP the buy for red, good against the barrier, good against techs. Marksman Gundine finally gets their range upgrade and we get side crawlers here. Very interesting crawler placement, by the way. The crawlers are not behind the tower, but rather a little bit more back. And then the back crawler is a little bit more up front than it's usual. So got triple level 2 Vulcan now, thanks to all that XP that they are getting fed from the deployed blue crawlers and fangs. Ooh, Assault Marksman is actually on the bar, very interesting. I like that tech though, there's rarely any situation where you would need 4 marksman techs. So even for the long range mirror, the Assault tech is probably worth a slot. Okay, there's a frontal melting point trying to cheese that Vulcan. Which is exactly why there's a crawler sneaking up here. And there's also some crawlers on the side of that Vulcan and in the back now. We should usually expect them. Very interesting that we do not have any fangs here. So what he could do is press loose formation at some point. Then this arc light chaff clearing capabilities are just entirely gone. Wasp are doing a very good job here distracting melting points, so the Vulcan can actually get rid of those later Vulcans. But round 7 finally goes way better than the last one. Still not enough. Okay, elite marksman now on the table and a oil. Very greedy oil, to be honest. So he thinks, thanks to the EMP, he can blast through that shield before the oil gets dropped. So this marksman will shoot here. That's 15k damage. EMP will almost kill the barrier, very close to not killing that. And then the pop gets it down, and that's a disaster because the oil will land immediately. I like that. Really good play. Goes to show you how strong EMP is as a pick. Because there's no counterplay to do that. And now the marksmen have tremendous range advantage and also damage. Very interesting game. So it's fangless, crawler filled marksman Vulcan with some additional wasp chaff, pretty much. But overall, I would say not a close game. Okay, we got supply spec with hounds, sounds good. Over here a little bit wonky. Area spec, sure. Probably the best pack with the worst spec. And yet again we see the marksman. So Mr. Area spec is not making use much of his area spec at all this turn. So tiny win for blue here. Wow. Extended range phantom ray? Okay. Look at that. This time we got the fangs instead of the crawler spam that we saw last time. Still got the good old triple deploy and whatnot. And even double upgrades here, okay? So the first supply was pretty much spent on more unit stats. So this extended range on the Phantom Ray means they have pretty much 0 health. Each Phantom Ray can take 1 marksman shot. Because they have 40% less of it. That looks like a good round 2. That's probably a sill here. Yep. So opponent goes for fortress here. Mustangs coming in for blue. Armor upgrade is possible on the Phantom Race, but thanks to their extended range, they most likely will not be useful in that role. Mustangs get put way in the back here. So the Mustangs can kill the Fangs rather easily. Also good into the Phantom Ray. Not that great into Fortress, but even as tanks for the Marksman, they will do alright, I would say. This guy does have Fang production on the forts, so that might be a possible angle that he's trying to do. As we can see here, just more overall units. Bombardment looks really juicy here because he's pretty close together. Bombardment here is also decent because it's Marksman Fang. There goes the Marksman army, and double shot is the tech to break through the sledge line faster and kill the fortress. One more Mustang. Zero respect for the spell. So we'll just eat that orbital bombardment like it's nothing. More Phantom Rays coming in, getting one shot by that spell. It's gonna take down that shield, so it's minus 100 right there. Tower gets sniped. And the Mustangs will probably take out the tower as well. That means the fortress is toast, and thanks to double shot, the marksman will one-shot the sledges no matter what. And then it's Mustangs versus Fangs, so that's around 5 with 3k versus 4k HP. Empty core pretty good on the Mustangs. Nano for the fortress. Okay, he's going into the fist style. So he's basically running no range and nothing. He just wants to get the value out of that rocket punch, dealing damage twice, hopefully. Unless the fortress gets one shot. So we again have the marksman gun line, 6 of them. Mustangs are upgraded, and we have some side chaff coming in now. Comes in right at the time where the Phantom Rays and the marksman will shoot them, since investing into fortresses is very expensive early. Rocket punch kills a few chaff units, I would say, so not highly impactful. And this time the other sheet will also go down. Shielded Fangs. My goodness. So red is wasting a lot of money here on units like these that don't do anything. The shield upgrade on the Fangs. It's just too few Fangs to make this actually work. Now blue is investing into some more dogs here. Interesting. Also ranging the marksman, another crawler down the middle. Wonder why that is, because probably because of late fangs, I guess, because the Mustangs will arrive a little bit too early most of the time. Maybe as a flank prevention. But yeah, as it goes through unshielded, so the entire units get destroyed in the middle. And that's a pretty huge stomp so far. Sub 200 HP. Triple Stormcallers offered. That is not something you like to see when you have slow moving giants on the field. Missile Interceptor. So he assumes that the Stormcaller will come out for the opponent as well. It's gonna be fire doggies even after the nerf. Interesting. So bringing in some late and some early fire. And he did not like that. I mean, I think the game was over by then. Interesting that he chooses to do this on this particular turn. But yeah. So outside of the chuff choices, I think very similar. He's got marksman spec. And there he goes. Opponent is again area spec. Let's see if we get some actual area spec this time. Standard deployment. And again we see the halfway up crawler deploy. So that crawler will come up right when the sledges move forward here. I think I like that because when I deploy my crawlers, I deploy them further in the back. And then the sledges sometimes get assassinated by other units. However, if you're playing against a missile enjoyer, it might not be worth it. Is interesting. So he goes Rhino Assault over extended range marksman. Considering he has a bunch of marksmen on the field, that's interesting. Probably because he has elite marksman. And the Rhino drop is obviously a auto win for this round if the opponent doesn't answer. So let's see how much damage that is worth. 1100. So pretty good. Okay, we got inside fangs and outside fangs now. Coming in very late. Opponent went for the crawler. That's gonna be a little bit of an issue because there's very little chaff clear here. There's no Vulcan on the board yet. It looks like it's barely enough to win that right side, but not enough to win the left. Too much fangs. So it's clear that blue is waiting for chaff clear options, and there it is. Chaff clear options in Stormcaller and in the Vulcan itself. Actually sells one of the Stormcallers. Interesting. Lots of doggies on the other side. So opponent also not the greatest as chaff clearing. However, he runs into the problem that he now has two chaff clearing units, the Hounds and the Arclights. So there's a little bit of redundancy. Round 5 going to Kulmo. Vision tech for sure. Yeah. I like the Vulcan positioning by the way, because there's always chaff coming down the middle that distracts these many marksmen here. So he pretty much shuts that down immediately on the turn. Then he gets one Vulcan out. And then thanks to the sell of the Stormcaller last turn, he also gets enough money to drop the Vulcans this turn no matter what happens. I like the side flank here with the fangs. They will come in later when the Phoenixes want to target those marksmen. They come in too late to cover for the Vulcan, but at this point it's probably just Phoenix versus marksman. Sell. Wow, doggos get armor upgrades. Very, very expensive. And it's Scourge immediately on the Vulcans. That is a very, very questionable play. That is something you could do earlier, but as you can see, these doggies will not get enough XP to level anyway. And Vulcan can out damage the hounds because they can't snowball as fast as they used to. Also, the fact that there's 5 Vulcans now on the board, that is a lot of money, but investing triple tech into hounds and one of them being armor is incredibly expensive. Holy smokes. So he's almost dead on round 6. The steel ball value. So oil coming up next. Triple tech Vulcans as well, this time with best partner, getting some more marksmen on the field. And then again we see those side crawlers trying to protect the Vulcans from the instant lock of melters or anything like that. Look at those cheeky phoenixes. Okay, and that's another surrender. Yeah, he was banking the fact that he wins this round on the cheese. And I mean, this guy is at 3k HP. So, no chance. Right, very clean game. I like the positioning of the crawlers. So the crawlers basically try to protect the sledgehammer line. And talking about that, will he take the missile spec here? No. So I'm gonna assume it's gonna be a ASIM steel ball in the back kind of deal. Very aggressive from the opponent. Typhoon spec in the back pocket. Okay. It's vertical steel balls in the middle. Interesting. Very weird setup, but I think it works out okay here, because there's no towers lost. Charge shot arc light coming in. Improved Scorpion picked up for the opponent here. Interesting. So now we have 5 arc lights versus Steelball Hound. And the Arclights do absolutely wipe the floor with him. However, that Phoenix will take care of everything else. So round 2 to Sparty. Melting point, okay. So Saber gets sold immediately, so Saber's spec is pretty much non-existent. Just plus 100. However, melting point probably because of energy diffraction, I would assume. Get some Mustangs in the back here and then some crawler support on the flanks. Opponent is out of the steel ball deal because he forced the charge shot Arclights. So there's a good chance here that the Mustang got dropped because he needs a second form of chaff clear, since the Arclights cannot do it anymore, and also because it's good into Phoenix and into Marksman. That's a lot of XP from a orange man there. Enhancement greed to sell out of the steel ball. Arclights upgraded. One more Mustang in the middle. One more crawler. Just behind the Arclight here. And the other one goes to the flank. Okay, so sneaky little Typhoon on the shallow flank. And there's a value missile here, trying to snipe that Arclight crawler combo. And for the moment there's not much chaff in front, so missiles still can get some value. Looks like a decent round for Sparty here, but also investing 300 into nothing. But the shields didn't get broken, rockets didn't get used. So that's a great value play for now. Ooh, Lightning Storm versus Steel Ball. That's a very greedy item here, just like the enhancement module. Arclights get ranged. And the ball goes onto the melting point. More Mustangs being dropped here. So the Typhoon got moved by the redeployment, trying to be as annoying as possible. But the big deal is the Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm got disrespected entirely. 0 shields here. So the right side is collapsing really quickly here. Typhoon is doing a very good job against the light units. Doesn't have to warp in this turn, so he deals a lot of more damage. And does not even get taken out with the Arclights because of the tower debuff. It's another solid round by red here. All the defense is still intact. Didn't get any value out of them because they didn't get damaged, but you know. Okay. Interesting play here. So the Stormcaller gets put in the back here to answer that Typhoon here. Triple melting point. So expecting some kind of big dudes. In this case it's true, it's the improved Scorpion. Increases the range of the Scorpion by 10, which is quite relevant. It's gonna fight Melters, who have 170 range. And so he will get up to 160, so he's close to being equal range to a Melter now. And that means a double shot Scorpion should be able to one-shot a Melter if they really touch each other. But for the most part, it's more about who has the better chaff clear. And this turn doesn't look like the chaff clear is in Sparty's favor. So these Scorpions get lasered. Still keeps that one shield though. That's nice. Okay. So the Mustang Arclight combo is doing pretty well here. More enhancement module value. Upgrades all over the board pretty much. Opponent goes for the hot dogs this turn. Brawlers spawn on the melting point, so producing more chuff straight up. And also oil, so it's gonna be hot dogs plus oil. Big tempo turn and also double shot on the Scorpions so they can compete with the Melter if they actually get to connect, that is. Lots of money thrown at the wall. It's actually quite painful because the Brawler spawn here will get nullified a lot this turn by the fireplace. However, next turn this is easy to prevent. So this is a one-turn thing pretty much. Ooh. Looks like the melting points get their desired matchups. There's the range that I was talking about. However, the melting point is level 2 and has enhancement module, so it's very tanky. This one does connect. The Scorpion's dealing about 26,000 per burst, and that is a loss on that one. That missile gets nullified, but I think the melting point will barely die to the last Scorpion. Kaboom! But again, a huge investment of money this turn for Sparty. A lightning storm coming up, and Sparty feels like he cannot take that. So now we should expect some sort of chuff here in the front to get rid of the hot dogs. Missile Interceptor is also a play, but I don't think it's necessary here. There we go. And there's also counter oil from blue here, so this entire side is pretty much dead. And another surrender, my goodness. Yeah, Sparty bought one single turn with that fire play, and I mean, he couldn't take that down in just one go. Interesting. So the melting point Mustang classic lineup working out here, and the Arclights with the charge shot pretty much just making sure that Sparty is out of his aggro comp. He could sell out of the steel balls, but he could not sell the hounds. So the Arclight charge shot still gets a good amount of value. And then in the late game, he chose to not take the mechanical range, thought he needed more, which is correct. Alright. Another little awkward one could go for cost control here. Typhoon is okay because of the sledgehammer. It's gonna be the cost control as we predicted. Alright. Steel Sane going with the classic Rhino Steel Ball Crawler opening. Got triple Arclight in the front. Crawler was the second buy. And Steel Sane adds some Hounds to the mix here. Hounds perform pretty well in these kind of aggressive pushes. They are pretty much a replacement for a Arclight that you would usually run. And I think they scale a little bit better nowadays with the Arclight being nerfed and Hounds being 5 units instead of 1. But since there was a symmetrical deployment, he still loses the round. Ooh, look at that Steel Ball. Almost got the tower. But not quite. Okay, double Wasp Swarm. Instant Mustang deploys in the back again. Okay. So that's gonna prevent that Wasp Swarm from being a thing. But to be honest, there's not that many units here that he would run Mustang against. Wasp Swarm barely survives that Fangs that got deployed behind the tower. So it's gonna be a tower debuff, although a very late one. And then there's a second tower debuff, which will make sure that these steel balls get stuck. However, the steel ball still picked up a level here, which is quite important in these pushes. But he did also drop an oil here, and it gets a free Vulcan straight after. That is very painful for Steel Sane. He chooses to burn everything. And also goes into the worm here. Interesting. More Mustangs with range were deployed this turn. And a Cheese Stormcaller to take that tower down. Didn't quite work out. But I think the oil here from Steel Sane gets him a lot of value this turn. I assume he wants to snowball that Sandworm, but there's just not enough units on the board to get the level up, I think. Maybe he will. Yes, there is actually one level up for the worm, and there's a big item to get that worm even more tanky. Right, so there's multiple options here for blue. He does run Ignite on the Vulcans. Steel Balls, Acid, Scorpions, Ignite Fangs. Goes straight up Steel Balls here, okay? So he's assuming there's gonna be more worms. Now in terms of tech, they are not exactly the best for mass worms. The Rhino really getting some value here because that Vulcan couldn't do anything. And the Steel Balls were not capable of killing the Rhino either. So that's a great turn here for Steel Sane, I would say. These Steel Balls are really nice here because they prevent the tower from getting killed by another worm, and they also take that tower rather easily. And now we have the cross map action, which favors the Mustangs. Especially if you don't run armor on your hounds, which a lot of people don't do anymore, since they're so hard to level. One ball to the tower, as per usual. But the worm cannot be denied. Okay. Interesting. Phantom Race. I was fully expecting the sledges to be dropped, but apparently he thinks Steel Sane will pick up the Wraith, and he doesn't have any anti-air aside from the Mustangs, so armor play will annoy them. Okay, that's another option. War Factory time to stop the worm. Interesting. Not quite sure if I like this, because there's steel balls behind this that can be teched. That's an instant tower cheese with the Stormcaller play on the right. Steel balls getting in. War Factory almost went bye-bye, but was very close. Phantom Rays, I would say, not achieving a whole lot here. That's a very good push on round 5. Dropping below 1700. There's the typical greed module. Sells out of the Stormcallers. Doesn't really have a double version of that. Now this could be expected, so if he wants to, he can beacon out of the Javelin. Got more crawlers to delay the tower from going down. Another factory in front. And a sneaky little side crawler from Steel Sane. Wasp Drop should be defended. There is level 2 on this tower. Steel Balls got the range. Yeah, this is looking still very scary because this is oil turns trying to buy time. So I'm thinking Sledge or Steel Ball production could be good here to start out this kind of push. Right side was winning with the factory. And once these factories level, they will be capable of killing these worms, no problem. So one hold on round 6. Big damage upgrades for blue. I like that because we have a little bit of a damage problem. Factories are not killing the worms fast enough. Mustangs always like more damage. And there we go. There's the Steel Ball production. Interesting techs here. So 2 production techs and then triple full-blown damage carry War Factory. Rhino gets an upgrade here. Interesting. So for now the Steel Balls do not have any text, but if he clicks Mechanical Division, that's gonna be a very hard sell for the opponent, because his Steel Balls will also get rid of those Steel Balls. And that takes a long time. He gets a lock onto the factory with 1 Steel Ball and barely does it. Big Worm now has armor, so he's much more tanky. And the War Factory is incapable of killing that just due to the level difference. But this is where the advanced offensive tactics actually will make a difference, because if he gets equal levels or 1 below, I think he can take out that worm, no problem. And there was great value gained here on the spawn techs on this side. Tiny bit of oil landed. Ooh, iron. Iron Beam very strong here for both of them. There is the mechanical division that we were waiting for. More Mustangs. And absorption on the bolts. Okay, so the bolts will try to stay alive by latching onto the war factory. However, if they do not get that, and if they just keep attaching to the crawlers that the other steel bolts spawn, they will not be much tankier than they are right now. They still get 40% more HP, because why not? But it's not entirely over in that charm. Right, so shield goes down, one Phantom Ray snipe, but the factory is pretty much intact. Steel Balls will absolutely annihilate that factory on the flank here. But there's a lot of delay here. The tower is getting attacked very late, even though it's only level 2. Factory over here is still producing steel bolts and is still holding strong. Anti-air situation is covered with the Mustang Phantom Ray combo. Let's see if the worm gets killed. It does. And the factory does stay alive. That is very painful. That factory produced every single steel ball that it could. High value. Double Raiden. Pretty good against T-Boy. Pretty good against Brave. Also a source of EMP. Ooh. But it's time to go full carry. So the factories will strike back this turn. Big range increase. Degen on the push for the Wraith. But now we have twice as much firepower on the factory. This one not, because it got EMP'd by those pesky Farseers. So I think it's time for some sort of photon coating here. Or just missile interceptors, which also works. But again, the heroes from the side here getting delayed by that crawler that Steelsane put down there himself means that the tower will always pretty much die when these two armies are collapsing from left to right. Now that is a big drag down of damage that Blue should take here, but he doesn't. Nice. So he goes for the anti-missile solution that I mentioned, which means Hounds will be intercepted and Farseer EMP will be intercepted. There's also an oil turn coming up, and the tungsten rod is back from cooldown, so we'll probably punch a hole here. I like some Mustangs on the side here, that would be nice. Because we need those as a distraction unit for the steel balls and whatnot. So So it's the entire backline filled with Mustangs. Boom goes the tungsten rod. But this time no EMP on the factories. And they absolutely murder those Seabolts. And that is enough damage to take Steelsane to town. Alright, very interesting. I didn't expect the efficient maintenance war factory hold, even though it does make sense against a worm. Alright, next up is Armadillo. So we can probably expect some aggressive play here. Maybe Amplify spec here? I think Red will not enjoy this spec here. Not the kind of place that he wants to do. Yep. So trying to buy some tempo on turn 1 by selling a unit and getting a Phoenix out. But looks like Dillo is playing a pretty tame round for now. Okay, it's the Rhino versus Arclight. Get some flank protection here with the Arclights. More Phoenixes for the Concave. Interesting. Double upgrade on the tower. I wonder if this is a charge shot preparation turn, in case Dido wants to go aggressive with the dogs and the sledges. Two Copier marksmen were deployed this turn to deal with that Phoenix. And that works out quite nicely because the chaff clear is still in favor of Dillo. Fire Badger again dropped this turn. And a Rhino drop as well. Interesting. So Red's still going for the Incendiary here. Sneaky little Fire Badger flank here. More Phoenixes. Interesting setup here. So very similar to his marksman. Does run jump drive and elite marksman on the same block here. Fire drop is ineffective against the Phoenixes. Same for the Fire Badger flank, but it will keep this side a little bit more open. not quite open enough. So Phoenix is showing why extended range Phoenix is a nice card to have. Puts them on 140 range, just like the marksman. Interesting. So deployment on the crawler to get that away. Sends out of the flank. I like that. I think flanking against ferry is probably a bad idea. Extinguisher doggies for Dillo here. Like that crawler, because we didn't need that crawler anyway, but this crawler will take all of the fire here. Other than that, the doggies are doing okay, I would say, but the Arclights are still needed as chaff clear. And then there's the dreaded delayed fangs coming in. Phoenixes will all regrow thanks to the quantum. But can they get rid of enough fangs to make it work? That's the question. Looks like it's a yes. So delayed fangs still not enough to stop the Phoenix. Okay, fully skipped on all of that. More hot dogs coming in. Invading the flanks of Dillo. Another Phoenix tech, this time we got range. Interesting that Dillo goes for a sledge carry pretty much, but he doesn't have extended range sledge. If I'm not mistaken, it was offered. So choosing to actively not do that. Ooh, look at that. Missile Interceptor on the flank, thinking the Missile Interceptor will most likely not die anyway, and it will take care of those late hounds arriving here from the flank. So pretty high value play. And other than that, it's just a bunch of marksmen with range, so they pretty much equal on the range department still. But as I said, very haggard looking defense here. Because there's still some chaff trickling in, and the Phoenixes do get hard countered by any sort of chaff unit. Another laser sight and incendiary, okay. Here comes the actual chaff clear now. KC was realizing he has the exact same problem as last turn. Too many units left over. Fire extinguisher doggies pretty much everywhere. And the dogs here do not have the upgrade. So full ignition on the front line. It's just Phoenixes and Vulcans versus the world. And some random Arclights, but we don't count those. For now, the Vulcans are pretty tanky against the marksman. Okay. The problem for Dillo is this marksman Fang combo does not finish off games. It's very, very low damage since he doesn't have any giants. And Stormcallers, actually. Talking about Stormcallers. Here they are. Scorch online on the Vulcans now. Ooh, look at that. Spicy little meatballs. 2 of them actually, with range. Getting ready for a finisher here, because he doesn't click efficient maintenance, which you probably can't even do on these units. Interesting. And that into phoenixes as well. I'm not sure if I like that, but it's a good meme for sure. So the lasers of doom coming out. Pretty much hitting nothing but chaff so far. But now they do start cutting into the Vulcans. They are gigantic targets though, so the phoenixes will take them out. And it looks like the giant weather balloons was not the play. And that's a round 7 loss to Armadillo. Now in this case it's actually relevant that they reduced the upkeep of these units by 50. So he's now 300 deep in debt. But it could be worse. Could be 400. This is such a weird game here. So we have elite marksmen on the phoenixes, so these things will just pop like balloons. However, Dillo is bringing back the wasp chaff in the back here. Also seeing some chaff deployed here. Wow, look at that. The javelin does a lot of damage to the abyss. However, I think the wasp play looks good here for one turn. And those are wasps that could get shields. There's just one issue here. And it's not the weather balloon. The problem is the shielded wasp are also a very good play for Flower Fairy. Very spicy match here though, I like that. Double Abyss versus Phoenix. Look at the poor Phoenixes. They barely get it done. Absorption module on the Vulcan is pretty powerful. Gets the regen a lot of health. There's the shield on the Wasp. Yeah. And there's the Wasp. He decides to go for anti-air, which I also like. Making sure that these Wasps die as fast as they can. And then the Abyss will probably get stuck on killing these Wasps for a little bit. And then the Marksman will shoot the Wasp and then the game is probably over. Okay, little Koala Copium play here. Yeah, Wasps are going down, not in the middle though. Still some left here, but the sides are absolutely cleared. Now the Abyss is one of the worst units, I think, to fight Wasp with. Then the Great Bird Army can come in here. Alright. Very fun match, very interesting. Right, last match from the Asian competition. There's the classic marksman spec. Also a cost control. Let's go for the cost control yet again. Ooh, greedy trading spec on the steel ball. Interesting. So saving that for later, because he can't upgrade this turn. Otherwise he would do a deploy. So right side is stalling pretty decently, because all of the sledges got into the fight. Pretty much, I would say, perfect hold for blue here. Still goes for the boss play, interesting. Also jump drive on that one, interesting, interesting. So lots of mobility options here. So we have double Mustangs in response to the Wasp drop. And then also a Wasp tower cheese here in the front and an oil to back that up. However, the blue steel balls are still an absolute pain in the butt and will take the entire round on their back. Almost getting a good result here. Rhino Sword looks juicy here. Scorpion comes down. And the steel balls are already on the way out. Ooh, it's Carry Wasp actually and that setup here. Okay, Scorpion looks good here. Nice and early, will also take care of that Rhino. Mustangs are doing okay, I would say. Finally, they are out of this HE. Ooh, that's double value instantaneously. Stormcaller cheese starting to attack that tower. Interesting. Oh, does he get the tower? He does not. Oh no. A very RNG play. Interesting, the incendiary bomb backwards move from the hounds. Very cute play. That's even more value on the enhancement. More Melta Mustang coming in here. Ooh. It's oil hounds here. Range on the boss and a big typhoon from the drop. So will we see some interception going on here? That's my question. So round 6. EMP sounds good on the blob here. More chaff to the front to ignite the oil. The sea balls are entirely disappearing, so the Scorpion doesn't have much to do here. Yep, there's the interception on the Mustangs. Interception is a triple counter to Hound, Phantom Ray auto attacks, and the sticky tech. The only thing that's missing here is some DPS, because the Mustangs are busy shooting at rockets. Yeah, they kind of deal with the Wasp on that side though. The crawlers are a little bit painful, especially if he clicks Subterranean here. But there's still one Arclight here doing its job. Okay, round 7. Ooh, Lightning Storm. Very, very painful for any Wasp player. You can get wrecked at any point in time. Shield is a big copium, still won't help you. Lightning Storm deals 2k damage, so the Wasp will get two-shotted no matter what you do, unless they're grossly over-leveled. And the worst case is he expects a Lightning Storm here, instead moves units over here, upgrades these units, and then still runs into a freaking Lightning Storm. Although I think the storm could be a little bit more to the side here. Oh yeah, that Lightning Storm is pretty terrible because of the flank delay here. Shield is holding. It's not. Okay, never mind. Lightning Storm got a good value here, but as you can see, there is barely any Wasp remaining. And that's just a dead dude. Yeah, rather unfortunate. I think he had some more juice left in him, but the Lightning Storm, too strong. Alright, so congrats to Frühlingsblume. Spring flower. Very interesting games here for sure. Also shout out to my boy Dillo, busting out the abyss. I like that. Alright, we got Zemp. Actually beating Ferry here. Do I see that correctly? That's correct. Or at least he left the game. Don't know what else to say. Really strong units here. There's Mouth here. Yeah, interesting. Diana also playing. All the cheese lords. I will keep those for later. Won't cast them today. And then let's go. Okie dokie. So Zemp is a standard player pretty much, or used to be. So I'm very interested what he's doing nowadays. So here he goes for a steel ball package. I think that's fake aggro. And it is. Ooh, what the hell? Zendria going for the T formation here. Arclight got absolutely wrecked here by the Stormcallers. Doggos took a little bit too long to take down the tower, so these steel balls get a lot of XP now by killing that tower. Unfortunately, no level up. Bunch of worthless upgrades, and beacon not really something that is necessary. You could argue a beacon would be nice here to beacon that to the side. Oh, Syndria does what I always hate. He just drops a shield here, and if you're in an aggro position, most likely the shield will not get broken. Although last game, I think the steel balls would have killed that for sure. So it's a very greedy pace. If he can keep this up, this is great. If not, it's minus 100. Looks pretty good though. And here comes the assassinator. Nope. Shield stays alive. Tilt incoming. The Seaballs did level here. So I think you shouldn't fight that. Just take over this side. There's a tower here for free. There's a tower here for free. He will fight that with Mustang and Crawler, okay? Interesting. Wow. Double Mustang deploy just for the Wasp here. Not too sure if he can actually break this fortress here. I think the Stormcaller stuff is a little bit too strong. He could deploy Stormcallers himself, to be honest. But this time we have level 2 steel balls, so they will take care of this. So shield got shreked. Scorpions now. So Scorpion is a way to deal with that kind of gameplay. Scorpion pretty decent against doggies, Scorpion, Sledgehammer. Not so good against Mustangs that are in the mix here, but that's why we're getting Arclight range. More crawlers. This is what we have learned today, that a lot of crawlers is probably a good idea. Wow. Meg Rage Sledges. I mean, Zendria is one nuke away from getting blasted out of this game. Okay, here comes the sneaky Scorpions with lots of crawler support. So unless Zendria is busting out a Vulcan here, he will not be able to chuff clear. And that Scorpion does lose the mirror. And now the Scorpion is gonna power level on that marksman. Right, very solid hold. No oil used yet as well. So still has that in his back pocket. And there comes the next shield. And we already know what kind of player Zendria is. I fully expect some sort of attack on this kind of tower. At least he should. If he doesn't, it's a huge misplay. Oh, Steelbolt's getting sold now. Feels Batman. No, the Steelbolts got replaced by Scorpions pretty much. And Zendria is playing the old classic counter to Scorpions, which is a Overlord. However, he bought that, so that's a very expensive switcheroo. Does have carry tax and photon. And the problem here is he's very close to just losing to Missile Interceptor, because the Stormcallers are doing a great amount of damage here. But he still doesn't have the Vulcan that I said he requires. And well, looks like Zendria is going down here. Lightning Storm time to cover the entire blob of units that is sitting there. Okay, he's fearing some sort of aggression there. Overlords are now trying to be used as chaff clear units and shoehorn them into a role that they can't do. Technically speaking, they can go high explosive launcher, but at that point you are a sitting duck against everything that is anti-air. And this is all on a turn where Lightning Storm arrives. So that's rather scary. I really wonder if Mechabellum was a misclick, because that it was so random and so worthless of an upgrade. Okay. So, small win for Zimp, about 1k. But this is not getting better anytime soon. There finally is the Vulcan. But I think that is too late. And he also goes for the war crimes. Very, very expensive setup here. Okay, so both are pretty cheese-proof here. But he's 100% relying on the Vulcans killing everything on the first bomb, because they will get absolutely hammered by Scorpions. Yep. Oh, actually the right one got another okay bomb, I would say. But yeah, other than that, it's just a big copium play, and that's it for Zendria on round 7. Cost control, fortified. Both looking good. He goes for the fast here, okay. Gets a good amount of chaff for sure. Middle deployment yet again. Let's see how he can do against those spiders. I'm gonna assume he gets shreked because he doesn't have any chaff clear. Yep. So that's an easy round 1. Misses strike and the position does not take anything. Okay. And he plays very disrespectful into the misses strike as well. So he identified the problem. The problem was shove clear. Yet again, the problem is shove clear because the acolytes get stuck on spiders. But at least one steel bar unit does actually get the middle down. So we need more arc lights on the flank. One in the middle. There he goes. No money left for arc light range, feels Batman. But he needed those arc lights to get rid of those late crawlers. And he also wanted the big Kahuna spell. Doesn't really do much, to be honest, but I think the spell positioning was a little bit off. But yeah, the shove clear situation is now sorted, so the Steebolts can actually do their job a little bit better. Now it's time for some DPS. Okay, this looks like a saber carry to me. We saw extended range Sabertooth earlier, so maybe he's hoping that that card will return. Because it might. And that is a lot of medium-sized units. No, it's mass-produced Sabertooth. Okay. Never mind. Look at that car park. Holy moly. Tiger underestimated the power of Chuff. Sabertooth are notoriously terrible at killing units that are not big targets. And that's gonna be some juicy level ups here. Also additional deployment slots, so there's gonna be even more Chuff and even more tanks. I like. Farseer also got dropped in now. This is also something where you could just drop a hacker and everybody just screams. Yeah, it's actually pretty close, but the level 2 Saber and the Phoenix cheat does make it. Ooh. Is that an actual Abyss play that actually works here? Look at that. And he deploys that into ranged melters as well. Wow. Look at that. Beautiful beam through the Saber gun line. So big spell on this turn again. Orbital comes off cooldown. Not taking these saber levels here. But it's shielded fangs instead, and Tiger is absolutely scared of these weather balloons. Drops a massive amount of Wasp into the missile strike and to the orbital bombardment. Oh no. That's actually quite sad, because that was just a blunder. And I actually wanted to see how the Abyss does in a normal situation, but apparently he got shreked and decked by spells. Okay, quick supply spider versus elite spec. Mars spiders on the front. And there's a elite spider coming in turn 1. Interesting. So can the spider win 5 versus 1? Answer is no. Got fangs and wasp offered. Sim goes for the fangs since he doesn't have any chaff. Marksmen are trying to deal with the wasp, but it's a little bit slow. But this time we have a level 2 marksman, so that spider does go down. Elite Mustang is the pickup. Getting a little bit baited here. They both go Elite Mustang actually. Interesting. So for Elite spec, the Elite Mustang card doesn't really have that much value because it is something you can do for 100. So unless he deploys like 4 squads of Mustangs here, probably not worth picking, to be honest. Okay, the Great Spider army continues to grow. Delaying that side with the EMP. Sneaky little Mustang flank. Very cute play here. Problem is these unupgraded Mustangs will feed a lot of XP into the Tarantulas, and Tarantulas do very well against any kind of unit that comes in droves. And he does run HE, so he's perfectly capable of killing that. There's the very reminiscent Tarantula slit Sabertooth gun line from the last game. there's a distinct lack of DPS here to get rid of these sabers quickly enough. Bleeding a lot of damage. Additional deployment versus tungsten. So trying to get value of that tungsten killing these 2 units. However, that's a 1-turn tempo play and additional deployments will inherently get more value. Ooh, he actually missed the tarantula because it didn't move forward. So that's a pretty bad tungsten rod. Doesn't even pay for itself. Okay. He barely survives on 88 HP. Incendiary coming up, so that's pretty bad for a Mustang player. Shielded fangs for 3 units of fangs. Oh no. I think he's absolutely dead here. Not even HE, just mech rage on the spider. I think it doesn't matter. I think the spiders clear shielded fangs with both techs pretty easily. Beautiful lock with the saber tooth there. And there's a Vulcan drop coming that got missiled. So it's coming in very, very, very late. And that is GG. Right, next replay unfortunately did broke. This is the one against Flower Ferry. Don't know exactly what happened there. But we still got some very good games coming up here. Is he gonna go for another spider? No, it's gonna be Typhoon Dog. And Storm. Look at that, it's actually a Storm mirror, but we have Hounds versus Crawlers, and there's an Aerial Spec. No Aerial Cheese though. I was gonna say Aerial Spec is underperforming, but I think Aerial Spec is performing as it always is. It's pretty much bad. Okay, so pretty equal round 1. A little bit Doxon favored because he has the arc lights. Both dropping more crawlers. And there comes the air spec to take over the free round here. And a missile, what the hell? To be honest, I think this missile is a mistake. I don't think it's necessary. Okay, so air round with missile. Okay, it's smoke against shield. That's pretty scary for Doxon because the shield cannot cover all of the smoke. And smoke loss for 2 rounds, so it's very, very inconvenient if that lands in a relevant place. Looks like we have some more dog action coming up here. Probably hot dog action if I wanna wager a guess here. Although he doesn't have any chaff clear outside of the dogs, so I guess he can still go for the range mech rage combo. That looks like a round 4 win for Doxon. Okay, so this is a big turn. Got cash flow from Typhoon Spec. Triple Sledgehammer drop. And he drops even more. Look at that. And a Copium Phoenix to boot, since he does not have any anti-air. Very interesting. I like that. So these unit drops are getting bigger and bigger by the patch pretty much. So getting 3 deploys for a unit where you would usually drop them pretty early is actually nice. And at worst case scenario, it's just a medium chuff unit. Yeah, that smoke looking not that nice. However, the phoenixes all died. It's just the fangs trying to carry here. Super greed supply. Some more chuff in the back. Birds in the back. Ranging birds in the back. Versus Scorpion drops to fight that sledge gun line. So Doxson is respecting the sledges, but only kind of, because he doesn't have range on the Scorpions. And in addition to that, he also knows that his opponent is running EMP. Everywhere. Like, really everywhere. Okay, so the sledge line does very well against Doxson. Ooh. Vulcan Fireplay coming in. So 1 turn cheese here. Okay, Doxson just trying to shield up here. Gets the big blob of marksman in the back. Okay, fire bomb misses the entirety of the oil here. That's probably not how Zimp envisioned that one, because there was a distraction crawler here. But it does blow up later. A little bit of a chaff clear problem on the left side here. But the Stormcallers are still pelting that Scorpion. Got him. Yeah, very scrappy round. Doxson will actually keep 1 shield. And there was also oil used here. So not the greatest, but it's still a little bit of damage. Okay, oil straight across the shields here. So Doxon is presuming that Zemp can't drop shields every turn, but he took super supply enhancement, so actually he can. He's trying to leverage that money by throwing more money at the screen, trying to delay the game. Probably a good idea to run Mech Rage here, to be honest, because there's a lot of little Griblins fighting here, and he is a little bit low on chaff, so either it's sledge upgrades or something more chaff cleary. Looks good this turn. That's almost Toxin biting the dust. Ooh, a big pack of Phantom Rays coming in. Farseer, range and EMAG on Doxon's side. Interesting. But it is factory time. And it might be interceptor time even. It's not, okay. So big blob of doom here. With the Phantom Rays on the same side, so overloading the left. Trying to finish this game in one turn. As you can see here, Scorpions not doing anything to war factories. The problem is, as long as he keeps getting EMP'd, he has a lot of HP less. Right side is not really winning, but it's not losing anything, pretty much. So I think that is GG. Because the tower debuff will turn those things around. And the sledge gunline will prevail against the Scorpions. Very interesting match. Alright, so Doxon out at that point. Next up we have Rooster and then Raketo. Got Rooster's favorite pack, Elite Spec. Zemp has multiple options here. Typhoon is fine, Farseer is fine. Yep. And we see what we would expect. Okay, round 1 is just Arclight level 2, so that always wins against what Zemp has. Phoenixes. A little bit better for Rooster here, I would say. Zemp deploying his favorite unit, the Stormcaller, into Fang Arclight, that's pretty decent. Zero respect for the aggro version of this pack, by the way. He deployed his sledges very aggressively. Blue Crawler's not that great into sledges. So that's gonna be a slight loss for Rooster, but it's very close. Efficient tech on Zemp. Nada on Rooster, because he's a little bit greedy with his deploys, wants to get some more units on the board. Is also Elite Spec, and Elite Spec gets less units with techs overall, I would say. Decent missile in terms of value. D-bolts pretty much doing nothing. There's no targets on this board where you would need a D-ball. So it's just gonna be the arc carry line instead. As you can see, a few crawlers here and there are making it, and there's a little bit of chaff clear problems in the middle. Might get some more storm crawlers going. Here's super supply. Always pick that as Zemp. Farseer comes down. So this is where it's getting scary for Rooster, because his elite power spike is falling off now. And Farseer is coming online. Some doggies are getting prepared here. So he's calling out the same thing that I was saying earlier. There's a little bit of chaff clear problems, not too much, but we might get in trouble in the middle if there is more chaff arriving. So this time the dogs do clear the chaff, and they also help out the Phoenix getting rid of those fangs. And this looks much cleaner on round 4. Rooster takes advanced targeting system, getting a little bit greedy here. Especially on elite. Not the easiest to make any switches with, and if you take all of your money invested into 10 range, that's pretty expensive to do. If Zemp can leverage that money in terms of having more giants or whatnot, that's going to be very advantageous for him. Rinse and repeat. Arc lines are not chaff clearing fast enough. Same issue as last round, just more heavy because the hounds now have attack. Ooh, sandworm time. So Rooster is going for the good old worm blender. However, they are both on the same side, so stopping that is gonna be easier than if he could switch sides, but with this beacon going to the other side is a little bit risky. So it's going to save some time getting to the tower, and he will lose some time later on when he has to beacon away. The doggies are all getting leveled here, which is terrible. This is where the doggies shine, when they have +1 level. I like the worm here, because the worm will stall out the other worms a little bit, giving the phoenixes more time to shine. Phoenixes got ranged also, so Rooster's phoenixes are in a disadvantage. It's looking good for the worms here. Since they have replicate, they are pretty hard to kill for the phoenixes. But remember that there is a lot of phoenixes, and there is charge shot. And charge shot will annihilate worms, no matter what size they are, unless the phoenix are severely underleveled. So that's a loss for Rooster guaranteed, because he doesn't have anti-air. Ooh. No advanced power system. Greets for the item instead. Yeah, this is the problem. So Rooster is thinking, how do I stop these phoenixes from murdering my worms? And Zemp is counter deploying the factory, and since both worms are on the same side, he will most likely connect unless Rooster makes the side beacon play here. But since he's losing the entire board, I don't think he has time to do that. If he does it, I think the game is over. But yeah, Arknights cannot threaten this. He goes for the Copium Wasp carry. And it's already too late. And Blue Factory with armor will outtank the worms, because the worms do not have the armor upgrade. War Factory has a good amount of splash. Doesn't care about the majority of units. And that's a big fat loss on round 7 here. Even with very little anti-air, the Wasp will just get stuck to the factory. Okay. Last one, Raketo. So it's gonna be another spider pack here with Sabertooth spec. So that sounds like something he has brought out 2 times already now. The Spider Saber gun line. And Raketo is going very aggressive against a spider matchup. That's interesting to me. Because none of these units kill this tarantula quickly. Okay, improved fire control versus Rhino. There's the Phoenix to answer that big spider. Will get rather... I think it will die rather quickly here though. Yeah. Was very close to the middle and thus it gets killed quickly. But the Rhino drop just carries that round for free. Here comes the Saber. Free fire spell. Defense upgrade. And a little hound flank to deny some chuff. Phoenix not dying. So that's round 4 to Raketo. Although a very weak play. Right, Mustang. Gunline to the back. More spiders with some upgrades this time. Interesting choice here for Raketo to deploy hounds and crawlers into the hound. You see how that turns out. Sneaky crawler here to distract the Phoenix. And steel balls for his opponent, seeing those naked spiders. Level 2 steel balls deal very well with spiders. does hold thanks to the Mustang chaff later. Lots of XP going to the Tarantula here because the Mustangs are high value and very easy to kill. Whoops. No. Sorry about that. There we go. Portable shield, pretty good for the steel ball. Zimp is deploying more chaff here to respect the steel balls. Also a good play because there is gonna be hackers from the other side. And hackers do not like getting fangs in front. That spider is pretty exposed, but it's ranged and the hacker is not. I think this flank is still fine. Trades 1 for 2 into delaying these big carry Mustangs. I think that's worth. So Hacker's doing quite well on this flank here, but not very well on that side. And since they don't have range, they will get killed rather quickly. Iron Blast. For sure. Very good here, because it does deny them. Ooh, this is a Rhino drop straight onto the hacker's face. And then decides to put the Iron Beam on the other side instead. Might get dodged here by that beacon. I think it's a good play, but it's on the same round as the Iron Blast, and that's a problem. Yep. Hacker does survive. Oh, he does not. The Rhino stabbed it in the back. And this Iron Beam, not that great. Since the hacker was ranged, it will stay behind. On the other hand, the beacon just means the steel balls get delayed and are absolutely useless. At that point, you might as well let them get killed. Raketo is on death's door. Sandworm time again. Cheeky little Vulcan play here to ignite the fire. Incendiary coming back off cooldown. Ooh, triple hacker actually. So Raketo invested his entire turn into hackers pretty much. Let's see how good those shields are holding up against the Tarantula marksman line. Because chaff is not gonna be a problem for him, I think. Hacker is gonna waste a lot of time on that worm. And both fire placements pretty terrible here. Because everything outranges the other side. But the hackers didn't have much of an impact, their barriers broke rather quickly. This hacker is doing pretty well here. But I'm afraid it's gonna die to the combine forces here. So if... Oh no, if none of these units die, the hacker is dead, and it looks like the tower debuff is enough. It's exactly lethal. Ouch. Alright. Congrats to Zemp for winning that tournament. Was a little bit different, I would say, than what I usually would see from Zemp. Less Stormcallers, less Marksman, more Sabertooth action. Alright, so it's gonna be it from me for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys